Tony Parker, Drake, Chris Brown fight. Tony Parker found himself in the middle of pure chaos on June 14th, 2012, thanks to a bottle-throwing mess involving Drake and Chris Brown at WIP nightclub in New York City. This wasn't just drama over a love triangle with Rihanna. It turned dangerous real fast. Parker caught a shard of glass in his left eye, and it wasn't just a scratch. Doctors said it penetrated 99% of his eye. He ended up needing surgery, a special contact lens, and a whole list of meds. He even hallucinated during his 8-day hotel lockdown. Still, Parker bounced back just in time for the London Olympics. But he didn't let the club slide. He filed a $20 million lawsuit, calling out the venue's weak security and bad judgment for letting two known rivals party at the same spot. The club, already sketchy, got shut down after the fight, injured 8 people, including Chris Brown and his crew. Parker's lawsuit turned into a spotlight on how badly some places handle celebrity ego explosions. It wasn't just about broken bottles. It was about broken responsibility, too. Kobe Bryant, Samaki Walker bet fight. During a Lakers trip to Cleveland on February 21st, 2002, things got way more intense than a friendly team contest ever should. After practice, the team had one of their usual half-court shooting bets. Everyone threw in $100, and Kobe Bryant walked away the winner. But Samaki Walker didn't pay up right away. He figured he had 48 hours. Like always, wrong move. The next morning, Kobe wasn't interested in waiting. He asked for the money. Walker said he'd pay later, and that was it. Kobe punched him right in the eye. Not a metaphorical punch either. It left Walker with a legit black eye. Walker fired back with the nearest thing in reach, his discman. It missed, which is probably good news for both of them. Coaches and teammates stepped in before it turned into a full-on brawl. Later that day, Kobe left a voicemail apologizing. Walker accepted it, and they squashed the beef. It was personal, competitive, and honestly, just another chaotic chapter from that wild Lakers era, where egos always seemed 1 second from colliding. Matt Barnes, Derek Fisher fight. On October 3rd, 2015, Matt Barnes found out Fisher was at his estranged wife Gloria Govan's house, and things escalated fast. Barnes and Govan were separated, but they shared custody of their twin boys. When he heard Fisher was there and the kids felt uncomfortable, Barnes got in the car and drove about 15 minutes to check on them. Not 95 miles, like some reports claimed, just a short drive with a long fuse. Once he got there, it turned physical. Witnesses said Barnes punched Fisher right in the mouth. By the time police showed up, Fisher had already bounced. No charges got filed, but the NBA still suspended Barnes for 2 games. The drama didn't end there though. Fisher and Govan stayed together and eventually got married in July of 2021. Kanye West even name-dropped the fight in a track in his song 30 Out. And believe it or not, Barnes says he and Fisher are cool now. Co-parenting comes first, even after a living room showdown like that. Welcome to the NBA's off-court soap opera. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to start posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Larry Sanders' nightclub injury. In early November 2013, Larry Sanders found himself in headline for all the wrong reasons after a nightclub fight in Milwaukee left him with a torn thumb ligament. It all went down after an argument reportedly escalated when Sanders threw a champagne bottle. That move sparked a full-blown altercation. Somehow Sanders avoided charges, but 2 others weren't so lucky. The injury was no joke. Sanders needed surgery on November 18th at the Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin to fix the damage. Recovery took 6 weeks, and he missed about 24 games because of it. That absence hit the Bucks hard during a season that was already falling apart. And just when things started to stabilize, Sanders suffered a fractured orbital bone in February, which ended his season completely. Charles Barkley nightclub fight. On October 26th, 1997, Charles Barkley turned a Houston Rockets preseason night out into a legal mess after a fight at Phineas Fogg's nightclub in Orlando. Around 1:45 in the morning, Barkley was chilling with Clyde Drexler and some friends when someone started tossing ice at their table. Then a glass full of ice hit one of the women in their group. That was it for Barkley. He went after 20-year-old Jorge Lugo, who was trying to leave. Even with an off-duty cop trying to step in, Barkley picked Lugo up and launched him through a plate glass window. Lugo ended up with a nasty arm laceration and got treated at the hospital. Barkley got slapped with aggravated battery and resisting arrest without violence. He spent 5 hours in jail and got out on a $6,000 bond. Lugo also got charged for throwing the glass. When asked in court if he regretted it, Barkley famously said he should have thrown the guy out the 6th floor window. The league told him to get security, and Barkley, he stood by his actions. Dennis Rodman, cameraman kick. On January 15th, 1997, Dennis Rodman delivered a kick that cost him over $1 million and a chunk of his reputation. While chasing a rebound in a game against the Timberwolves, Rodman tripped over some baseline equipment and landed near cameraman Eugene Amos. Clearly annoyed, Rodman stood up and kicked Amos straight in the groin. No technical foul, no warning, just a blatant, deliberate shot. Amos dropped instantly, was stretchered off the court and taken to a hospital. Rodman brushed it off post-game, saying maybe he'd send the guy flowers. Later, he claimed he was trying to kick a camera, not a person. No one really bought it. The fallout was massive. Rodman got slapped with an 11-game suspension and a $25,000 fine. On top of that, he settled with Amos for $200,000. That missed time cost him over $1 million in salary. Kanye West even referenced the mess in a track, because of course he did. The whole thing cemented Rodman's wild legacy. Unpredictable, brilliant, and sometimes just way too much. Dwight Howard stickum incident. On March 19, 2016, Dwight Howard got himself caught up in one of the stickiest situations in NBA history, literally. While sitting on the bench during a Rockets-Hawks game, Howard applied stickum spray to his hands right before checking in. Minutes later, Paul Millsap noticed something was off during free throws. He said the ball felt like it had super glue or something on it and couldn't get it off his hands. The ref stopped the game. Referee Monty McCutcheon made it clear. Stickum is illegal in the NBA. A Rockets staffer quietly removed the can, which had been wrapped in white tape. Howard didn't even try to deny it. He straight up said, "I do it every game. It's not a big deal. I ain't tripping." The league reviewed the incident and gave him and the Rockets a warning. No fines, no suspension, just an awkward slap on the wrist. Reactions were all over the place. Some coaches were baffled. Some execs wanted penalties, but in the end, it stuck more to Howard's reputation than the basketball. No pun intended. Vernon Maxwell fan punt. On February 6th, 1995, Vernon Maxwell walked straight into the stands during a game against the Trail Blazers and punched a fan named Steve George in the jaw. The fan reportedly taunted Maxwell all game, and after a fourth foul, Maxwell snapped. He climbed about 10 rows, threw the punch, and walked right back to the bench like nothing happened. The punch broke George's jaw and cost Maxwell 10 games and a $20,000 fine. The NBA didn't play around. He also lost about $112,000 in salary. Maxwell said the fan had insulted his stillborn daughter, but George denied that, saying he only mocked Maxwell's 5 points. No one else confirmed either version. Things got even weirder. Jerry Seinfeld and Bill Gates were both courtside. The whole thing was caught on tape, and years later, the video resurfaced with people debating whether Maxwell was defending his honor or just losing it. It all ended in a legal settlement, but the damage stuck. It was one of the first times a player actually went into the crowd, setting the tone for later NBA chaos. Rockets-Clippers locker room incident. On January 15th, 2018, things went off the rails after a fiery game between the Rockets and Clippers at Staples Center. The night was already packed with drama. Blake Griffin had beef with just about everyone, even bumping into Rockets coach Mike D'Antoni. Trevor Ariza and Griffin got ejected, and Austin Rivers, injured but loud from the bench, stirred the pot even more. But the real chaos came after the game. Using a back hallway he knew from his Clippers days, Chris Paul led Ariza, Gerald Green, and James Harden toward the Clippers locker room. Clint Capella played decoy, knocking on the front door while the others tried the side road. The result? A whole lot of yelling, and no actual punches. The NBA got involved fast. Ariza and Green were suspended for 2 games. Paul and Harden skated by with the league saying they tried to calm things down. No Clippers were punished. Fans ate it up. Social media lit up with jokes, memes, and commentary about the NBA's version of a covert operation. It was petty, hilarious, and very, very NBA. Sebastian Telfair, gun on plane. In October 2006, Sebastian Telfair was caught in an odd situation when a loaded .45 caliber gun was found inside a pillowcase on the Trail Blazers team plane. Even weirder, the pillow had a photo of Telfair's baby on it. The gun belonged to his girlfriend, and Telfair told police he'd grabbed her gym bag by mistake while packing. No charges were filed, but the Trail Blazers fined him. Telfair said he had no clue the gun was there, but it didn't stop the media from jumping all over it. The damage was done. That incident, plus a stolen chain situation outside a Manhattan restaurant later that same month, started to cement his reputation for trouble. Adidas pulled a $6 million deal, which Telfair later called bogus. He kept playing, but the off-court issues didn't stop. Years later, this would be remembered as the first warning sign. It wasn't violent, it wasn't dramatic, but it stuck. In a league trying to clean up its image, Telfair's gun in a pillowcase moment didn't exactly scream professionalism. Jason Kidd drink spill. On November 27, 2013, Jason Kidd pulled one of the sneakiest stunts in recent NBA history. With just over 8 seconds left and no timeouts, the Nets trailed the Lakers at Barclays Center. Kidd, standing courtside with a soda in hand, clearly mouthed, "Hit me to Tyshawn Taylor." Taylor obliged, bumped into him, and Kidd conveniently spilled his drink onto the court. The spill stopped play, giving the Nets a free huddle to draw up a final play. It didn't help. They still lost 99-94, but the damage was done. The league reviewed the footage, saw the premeditated accident, and slapped Kidd with a $50,000 fine. Kidd tried to play it cool, blaming sweaty palms, but video showed otherwise, and the NBA wasn't buying it. Critics called the move cheap and desperate, and Lakers coach Mike D'Antoni called it nuts. The whole thing sparked debates about coaching ethics, even though it didn't affect the outcome. Kidd got his timeout, but he also got caught red-handed, or rather soda-handed. Delonte West and Gloria James-Rumor. Back in May 2010, after the Cavaliers lost to the Celtics, things got messy off the court. LeBron James looked off in games 4 through 6, and suddenly, rumors exploded. A blog claimed Delonte West had slept with LeBron's mother, Gloria James, and that LeBron found out before Game 4. It all spiraled from sketchy chain emails and some contractors' friend of a friend nonsense. Deadspin and Barstool covered it, but raised eyebrows over how flimsy it all was. Still, Hall of Famer Calvin Murphy jumped in on the radio, saying it was absolutely true. While offering zero proof, LeBron stayed silent, letting his lawyer handle the denial. Meanwhile, the Cavaliers clammed up, only adding fuel. Delonte denied it multiple times, comparing Gloria to his own mom. In 2023, a viral video had West shouting, "He never did it with anybody's mother," putting the rumor to rest once more. It never got league attention, but the internet never let it die. Just gossip, no evidence, and a lasting shadow. Zack Randolph, Ruben Patterson fight. On April 2nd, 2003, the Trailblazers practice facility in Tualatin turned into a boxing ring. During a heated session, Ruben Patterson got into it with rookie Kentel Woods. Things escalated fast, and Zack Randolph, close with Woods, stepped in by throwing a punch that broke Patterson's eye socket. To make matters worse, Patterson's arms were being held back by teammates trying to break it up. The fallout was instant. Randolph got hit with a 2-game suspension and a $100,000 fine. But it didn't stop there. Randolph reportedly feared retaliation and hid out at Dale Davis's house for a few days. This wasn't even their first fight that season. Earlier in the locker room, Patterson dared someone to slam him. Randolph took the bait, and Patterson flipped him hard enough to injure his back. Randolph missed 2 weeks. It was peak Jailblazers chaos, a team loaded with talent and drama. While the franchise took heat for its roster decisions, Randolph eventually turned things around in Memphis. But back then, it was all broken sockets and broken chemistry. Chris Anderson, FBI investigation. In May 2012, Chris Anderson found himself in the middle of one of the strangest sagas in NBA history. Known as Birdman for his high-flying play and tattoos, Anderson had his Colorado home raided during the playoff. The suspicion? Internet crimes against a minor. But the truth unraveled into a wild catfishing scheme. Anderson had unknowingly been duped by Shelley Chartier, a reclusive woman in Manitoba. She impersonated both Anderson and a 17-year-old model named Parish Dunn, orchestrating fake conversations, meetings, and even extortion. Chartier posed as Dunn's mother, demanded money, and convinced both parties they were talking to each other. It fooled everyone, even the FBI. The media blitz was brutal. News outlets painted Anderson as a suspect before any facts were clear. He was eventually cleared in 2013 with no charges filed. But the damage was done. The Nuggets cut him, and his name took a hit. He bounced back with the Miami Heat, winning a championship in 2013. Still, the bizarre saga remains one of the NBA's most surreal off-court stories, showing how reputation can unravel faster than facts. Jordan Bell Candle Incident. On March 27, 2019, Jordan Bell was suspended 1 game for what looked like a harmless prank gone sideways. At the Peabody Hotel in Memphis, Bell charged a $15 candle to assistant coach Mike Brown's room without telling him. Apparently, players had a tradition of charging small items to each other's rooms as jokes, but this one didn't land. Hotel staff contacted Brown, who had no clue what was going on. Surveillance footage showed Bell making the purchase. At first, he denied it, then admitted it was a joke. The problem? It wasn't a teammate. It was a coach. That crossed the line. The Warriors suspended him 1 game, which cost Bell about $9,500 in salary. To make it worse, wild rumors flew around claiming Bell charged adult content to the room. Both he and the team shut that down fast. It was just a candle. Still, the prank turned into a warning. Even in the NBA, jokes can cost you, especially when they involve someone higher up on the food chain. Robert Parish punches Bill Laimbeer. On May 23, 1987, the Celtics and Pistons were deadlocked in the Eastern Conference Finals, and things boiled over. In the third quarter of Game 5 at Boston Garden, with emotions running hot and elbows flying, Robert Parish finally snapped. After repeated cheap shots from Bill Laimbeer, Detroit's flopping elbow-throwing chaos agent, Parish unloaded a clean punch to Laimbeer's back as they ran up the court. Refs missed it. Crowd roared. Play went on. Parish, usually unshakable, said little afterward, only hinting that Laimbeer had it coming. The NBA later fined him $7,500, but didn't suspend him, letting him play Game 6. Detroit lost that one, forced a Game 7, and then Boston advanced to the finals. Laimbeer, he just added it to his collection of reasons people either hated or weirdly admired him. The punch wasn't just about that night. It was the whole Celtics-Pistons war, a cold war gone hot. Boston calls it justice. Detroit calls it favoritism. The rest of us, just another chapter in the NBA's golden age of grudges. Nick Young burglary. On March 23, 2014, while Nick Young was busy dropping buckets against the Magic at Staples Center, someone else was busy raiding his house in Sherman Oaks. After the Lakers' 103-94 win, Young got home and found an upstairs window shattered, drawers flipped, clothes everywhere. Classic burglary chaos. The thieves made off with about $100,000 worth of stuff, including jewelry, designer clothes, luggage, and a pair of red October Yeezy. Yes, the sneakers that could sell for $6,000 a pop. GQ had just named him one of the most stylish athletes, so the guy had plenty to lose in the closet. Young called the cops at 2 a.m, but they didn't show up until around 4 or 5. Feeling sketched out, he dipped to a hotel and joked about getting a guard dog. Fast forward to 2017. Same story, new house. While Young was at All-Star Weekend, thieves hit again, this time taking $500,000 in cash and jewelry. Sometimes being flashy just puts a target on your door. Tim Duncan technical. Duncan was tossed for something most players do after a bad call. He laughed. That's it. During a tight game between San Antonio and Dallas, Duncan was sitting on the bench after picking up his 4th foul. He clapped and laughed after a no call on a teammate. Referee Joey Crawford decided he'd had enough of Duncan's face and hit him with a technical. Duncan laughed again, said something unclear, and boom, second technical, automatic ejection. The guy barely moved, and suddenly he was out of the game. Crawford said Duncan called him a name, but video didn't catch anything. The NBA wasn't buying it either. Duncan got fined $25,000, but Crawford, he got suspended for the rest of the season and playoffs, fined $100,000, and told to get counseling. It was a mess. Crawford later admitted he lost control. Duncan went on to win a title that season, while Crawford missed out on the playoffs entirely. This wasn't just about a call, it turned into one of the strangest ref-player moments ever. No punches, no screaming, just a bench laugh that triggered the harshest punishment an NBA ref had ever received. Allen Iverson practice rant. On May 7th, 2002, Allen Iverson held a press conference that turned into one of the most quoted moments in sports history. The Sixers had just been knocked out of the playoff. Tensions with coach Larry Brown were boiling, and Iverson was facing questions about missing practices. What followed was him saying practice 22 times, including the now infamous line about being a franchise player while talking about, well, practice and not a game. But people missed the full picture. Iverson was grieving the recent loss of his best friend, and the murder trial had just started. He said outright that everything was going downhill for him, not just basketball. Some speculated he was drunk, a claim Iverson's always denied. He said he was emotional, not intoxicated. The press only grabbed the practice quotes, skipping his pain and frustration. Over the years, Iverson said he regrets how misunderstood it was. He wasn't mocking work ethic, he was mourning, angry, and under pressure. That moment became a punchline, but underneath it was a man dealing with grief and questions about his future with the team. That's the side of the rant most people never hear. Baron Davis, alien abduction. In July 2013, Baron Davis told a wild story on the Champs podcast about being abducted by aliens. He claimed it happened 2 weeks earlier while driving from Las Vegas to Los Angeles at 4 a.m. According to him, a bright light hit, and next thing he knew, he was in some steel thing, surrounded by strange beings poking at his face. He said he blacked out and later found himself in Montebello, shaking and scarfing 2 burgers from In-N-Out. The host thought he was joking, but Davis doubled down, saying it made him smarter and sharper. A day later, he tweeted that it was a joke, adding hashtags about Men in Black, which did not exactly help. Still, fans and media had a field day. No league punishment followed, since he was already retired. Whether it was the Percocet, a prank, or some spaced out publicity move, the story stuck. And honestly, it's now a hilarious footnote in NBA weirdness history. Rick Fox versus Doug Christie fight. On October 25, 2002, a preseason game between the Lakers and Kings turned into a full-blown brawl. It started with Rick Fox elbowing Doug Christie, then dropping the ball on him like it was part of a finishing move. Christie, not exactly feeling the sportsmanship, fired the ball back. Fox slapped him, and Christie answered with a left-handed uppercut. Both were tossed from the game, but it didn't end there. Fox sprinted through the tunnel like he was chasing a grudge, waited for Christie, and round 2 started backstage. That scrap drew in players from both teams, including an injured Shaquille O'Neal, who waddled into the action with a limp and a purpose. The NBA handed out punishments quick. Fox got 6 games and lost nearly $300,000. Christie got 2 games and lost almost $140,000. Everyone else who left the bench, no suspensions, since they were apparently playing peacemaker. This wasn't just preseason drama. It was a boiling point in one of the fiercest rivalries of the early 2000s. Ty Lawson DUI incidents. Lawson's off-court troubles started back in 2008 when he was still at North Carolina. Caught driving with a 0.03 BAC, it was under the legal limit, but illegal for anyone under 21. He got 20 hours of community service and moved on. Fast forward to January 23, 2015. Lawson, now a Nugget starter, got pulled over in Denver for speeding. Cops said he was drunk, slurring words, and couldn't balance. He pleaded guilty later and avoided jail, but got hit with probation, community service, and a fine. Just months later in July, he was pulled over again, this time in Hollywood. Another DUI. Days later, Denver shipped him off to Houston. The NBA suspended him 5 games total for the 2 DUI, costing over $500,000. His play dropped, his leadership was questioned, and his career never really recovered. By 2018, he was out of the league. The Wizards gave him one last shot, but it didn't stick. His story became one of wasted potential, flashes of brilliance buried under repeated, avoidable mistakes off the court. Steve Francis chain snatching. On March 1st, 2015, Steve Francis got caught in a wild scene at a rap concert in Houston. He was on stage during a Sauce Twins performance when someone came up from behind and went for his chain. It wasn't smooth. The attacker struggled, yanking hard enough to drag Francis to the ground. Eventually, the chain came off and the guy took off. No police report, no injuries, just a former all-star pulled to the floor in front of a crowd. The video spread fast online, turning the incident into instant tabloid fodder. Then came Jay Prince. The Houston rap boss reportedly stepped in, and like some real-life fixer, helped get the stolen chain returned. The whole thing raised big questions about security at events like that, especially when someone like Francis, not even performing, gets physically attacked in full view. For a guy who once ran NBA courts, getting pulled down by a chain snatcher at a concert became a surreal and embarrassing headline, and it definitely added another strange footnote to his post-basketball life. Charlie Villanueva, stolen toilet. On December 19, 2017, Charlie Villanueva returned home in Dallas to discover something truly baffling. His toilet was gone. Not just any toilet, his actual bathroom toilet. The burglars hit his place and swiped appliances. Sure, but the toilet? That's what sent the internet spiral. He took to X, posting a string of tweets from 8:41 to after 11 p.m., showing a photo of the empty space and asking, repeatedly, who steals a toilet? The tweets included facepalm emojis, toilet emojis, and pure disbelief. Meanwhile, the Dallas police still hadn't shown up, which only made the story blow up more. A parody account called at Stolen Toilet even jumped in, taunting him. No one got arrested, and the toilet was never found. But thanks to his Twitter thread, it became a meme overnight. News outlets from ESPN to TMZ picked it up. No NBA action followed since he was retired, but it added a bizarre twist to his legacy. Villanueva once battled Garnett and alopecia ignorance. Now, he's the guy whose toilet got stolen, and the world laughed with him. Mostly. Anthony Mason bar fight. On February 26, 2000, Anthony Mason was arrested after a brawl outside Perks Bar in Harlem around 4:30 in the morning. Mason and 4 others allegedly jumped 3 men after one of Mason's friends bumped into a guy named Albert McGibney. Things escalated fast, and the victims ended up with minor injuries and a trip to the hospital. Mason was charged with third-degree assault and posted $1,000 bail. Despite the early morning arrest, he still suited up that night for the Hornets and joined the game during the second quarter against the Nets. Afterward, he told reporters he wouldn't have done anything differently and blamed his fame for making him a target, saying he had a bullseye on his back. This wasn't Mason's first run-in with the law. Back in 1998, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of child endangerment involving underage girls. The Harlem incident only added fuel to the fire around his already complicated reputation. For a guy known for toughness on the court, his off-court image kept getting rougher. Gregg Popovich fast ejection. On April 3rd, 2019, Gregg Popovich was tossed just 63 seconds into a game against the Nuggets. The Spurs were down 5-0 when LaMarcus Aldridge missed a jumper after contact from Paul Millsap. Popovich wasn't having it. He stormed over to referee Mark Ayotte, clearly furious, and called the timeout just to yell. Assistants Becky Hammond and Ime Udoka tried to calm him down, but nope, Pop got 2 technicals in rapid-fire fashion and was gone before fans had settled into their seats. Jamal Murray hit 1 free throw, and just like that, Denver led 6-0. The Spurs lost big, 113-85. Popovich didn't seem too broken up post-game. He barged into Nuggets coach Michael Malone's press conference, pretending not to know what happened, joking about someone getting ejected in record time. The clip went viral, of course, with Twitter and YouTube users piling on. Another chapter in Pop's legendary temper file, and probably the only ejection where he still managed to make people laugh after. Tim Hardaway, homophobic remarks. On February 14, 2007, Tim Hardaway detonated his public image with one interview. On Miami's The Dan Le Batard Show, he was asked about John Amaechi coming out, and he responded with one of the most openly hateful statements ever broadcast by a former NBA star. He flat out said he hated gay people, didn't want to be around them, and called himself homophobic. The backlash was instant. The NBA kicked him out of All-Star Weekend, and he lost his job with the Indiana Alley Cats. After the firestorm, Hardaway apologized multiple times, admitting his words were harmful and saying he'd work on understanding people's differences. Over the years, he tried to make things right. He worked with the YES Institute and even supported same-sex marriage laws in Florida. He acknowledged the damage, saying his comments likely kept him out of the Hall of Fame for years. In 2022, he was finally inducted. It took a long time, but Hardaway's journey from scandal to redemption remains one of the league's most dramatic reputational turnarounds. J.R. Smith shoelace incident. In January 2014, J.R. Smith decided to turn NBA games into prank videos. During a matchup against the Mavericks, while lining up for a free throw, he leaned down and untied Shawn Marion's shoelace like he was 5 years old at recess. 2 days later, after a warning from the league, he tried it again, this time with Greg Monroe of the Pistons. That attempt failed, but the NBA had seen enough. They hit Smith with a $50,000 fine for repeated unsportsmanlike conduct. Smith tried to clean it up on Twitter, apologizing to the fans, the league, and his own team. Coach Mike Woodson wasn't amused, calling it unprofessional and saying it had to stop. This wasn't Smith's first rodeo with controversy, and it sure wasn't his last. The shoelace stunt became another bizarre chapter in his unpredictable career. It was juvenile, pointless, and very on-brand. Somehow, it's still one of the weirdest fines the NBA's handed out, and that's saying something, considering this league's history of nonsense. Stephen Jackson strip club shooting. On October 6, 2006, Stephen Jackson found himself in the middle of a wild and dangerous scene outside Club Rio in Indianapolis. During training camp, Jackson and teammates Jamal Tinsley, Marquis Daniels, and Jimmy Hunter got into a fight with patrons inside the club. Things spilled outside, where Jackson got punched in the mouth and then hit by a car, rolling onto the hood like something out of an action movie. Instead of backing off, Jackson pulled out a 9mm handgun and fired 5 shots into the air, claiming it was self-defense. The whole thing turned into a legal mess. He was charged with criminal recklessness, battery, and disorderly conduct. He ended up pleading guilty to the felony, got 1 year of probation, a $5,000 fine, and 100 hours of community service. The NBA suspended him 7 games to start the next season. This incident only made the Pacers' already shaky image worse, coming not long after the malice at the Palace. For Jackson, it became another chaotic entry in a career full of drama. Devin Ebanks DUI arrest. On November 9, 2012, Devin Ebanks, then a forward for the Lakers, was arrested in Hollywood just before 3 a.m. California Highway Patrol stopped him for a traffic violation and suspected he was driving under the influence. He was booked by 3:44 a.m. and released later that morning after posting $5,000 bail. The Lakers put out a bland statement saying they were aware and looking into it. At the time, Ebanks was averaging just 2.5 points a game in his 3rd season, mostly riding the bench. This wasn't his first legal headline either. Just a year earlier, he was accused of sexual assault, but prosecutors declined to press charges. In October 2013, while briefly with the Mavericks, the NBA suspended him 2 games after he entered a no-contest plea to the DUI. For a player trying to hold on to a role in the league, the off-court trouble didn't help. It became another short chapter in a career that never really took off. Manu Ginobili Bat incident. On Halloween night in 2009, the Spurs and Kings were playing in San Antonio when the game took a bizarre turn. A bat started flying around the court, halting play and sending arena staff into a flailing frenzy. After several failed attempts to catch it, Manu Ginobili decided he'd had enough. As the bat swooped past, he smacked it out of the air with his bare hand, casually picked it up, and handed it off like it was part of the game plan. The crowd roared, and the arena blared the Batman theme song. But the fun didn't stop there. Ginobili immediately got doused with hand sanitizer, and days later, he began a series of rabies shots, just in case. He later admitted it wasn't the smartest move, saying bats are important to the ecosystem, and some carry rabies. Animal rights groups, including PETA, criticized him for the swat heard round the league. Still, fans dubbed him Bat Manu, and the moment became a weird, unforgettable highlight in NBA history. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching,